you kittens. Guess what?
What? You found our mittens?
I've got a copy of my new book, A Time for Poncey.
What's a Poncey?
That's the name of a character. Now, pay attention.
Okay.
What a grouch.
I brought this copy for you to read.
Yay! Yay!
You know how much you love A Rose for Emily and A Good Man is Hard to Find?
And the Great Gatsby.
Well, not that one so much, but the other two. It's kind of like those. It's Southern Gothic writing based on the book of Ecclesiastes. And it's kind of funny, too.
Yippee! Yippee!
Here, take a look.
Oh boy, I want to read this. I want that bird. Read it. Okay, I'll just randomly turn to page 17.
Ready? Okay.
Poncey thought about another time he'd seen Jazzy when he spied her years ago pouring some suspect liquid into a pop bottle. Way too clever to be fooled. He was sure she'd gotten her hands on some liquor and was disguising it. Quite a feat for someone underage, in a dry county and so silly to boot. Not to be outdone, he determined he'd get some booze for himself and show her. The trick would be to pull it off and make sure no one knew, particularly not Reverend Fletcher nor anyone else at First Church. With no car himself, he jumped on his bicycle and pedaled all the way to the next county, to the package store conveniently located over the line. Poncey was a big kid even back then, and could pass for older than his 15 years, but he figured out a plan anyway to keep his age from even coming up. But he was so out of breath as he entered the store, he forgot to cast the conspiratorial look toward the clerk that he'd rehearsed. A knowing look that would say he and the clerk had a connection, and that he could trust Poncey's honesty. With such a pact, he wouldn't have to prove he was old enough to buy the liquor, which he couldn't. If he had remembered to look at the clerk, he'd have noticed his hands in the air and the masked man pointing the gun. Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Just read it.
Okay.
Poncey carefully chose a bottle of something he'd never heard of and turned toward the counter, his heart finally settling down in his chest. Instantly, he jumped back into action into his throat as he finally saw the robbery in progress. The bottle slipped out of his hand. The percussive crash sounded like a shot itself, and both the gunman and the clerk jerked their attention toward Poncey. He stood like a guilty schoolboy for a moment, then whooped and made a break for the next aisle. Running like a doughboy, he kept his head low while he navigated the maze of shelves. A bullet whizzed by, and a giant plate glass window just beyond Poncey burst into a million shards. He vaulted through the resulting exit and leapt to his bike, pounding away at the pedals as the clerk laid the distracted thief low with a baseball bat. No, Jazzy had always been nothing but trouble to Poncey. That makes me hungry. Let's go get some tender victuals.
Victuals?